Let's learn about the concept of pin change and timer interrupt in case of Arduino. Instead of just looping around and figuring out like if there was a change, then we need to trigger something. That just takes ample number of resources, and you don't just usually wanted to check each and everything at a particular instance, even though there doesn't seem to be any change. So interrupts, these timer interrupts, and this pensions interrupt is the hardware interrupt actually helps you like if there is a change then we do something. You don't keep on checking out whether there needs to be a or whether there is an actual change. Take for an example like this analogy. Somebody important needs to enter inside your room. Might be a teacher for any sort of thing, then you keep on looking at the door, like whether the teacher is here, just keep on looking at the door. So it will be like if you're studying at other subject at that particular instant of time, but you still keep on looking at the door, you're wasting your resources, and you're not either studying properly and thinking about like whether the teacher just is going to walk in into your classroom. But think of this analogy like somebody announces when the teacher arrives. You would be at ease, like now you know when the teacher actually arrives. So that's what the pen change and timer interrupt does. So let's look into this. I have the circuit and I have assigned particular pins to like as the constant value. So the PR IR sensor is given the digital pin 2. LDR sensor is given the given the analog pin is node, then temperature pin is given pin 1, then and all those three LEDs are given their respective pins. And in there I have also assigned particular global variables like the motion detect sensor and light change detect sensor in temperature. At the beginning I have just assigned them value 0 because I have three sensors that I am dealing with currently. This is the LDR sensor, temperature sensor, and PR sensor. And the timer interrupts. We have three kind of timer interrupts. One is zero, the other is timer one, and third and the last most is timer two. So when we're dealing with timer interrupt, mostly we deal with timer one because it has much more value for the prescaler. Now prescaler is something like think of it like we have oscillation of number of per cycle, like it vibrates. So in the oscillation in case of the Arduino we have around 16 million. So it's a big number, and if you keep on looking onto the analog cycle, or sometimes like think visually imagining like per cycle per second, it is oscillating about 660 million times. It's a quite huge number, and to divide them into much more smaller chunks, we use the prescaler value. Like, for example, 1024 is one prescaler value. So that cycle, the overall cycle is divided into smaller chunks. That's what we do. And then if that particular value, the oscillation value arises, where we do some sort of interrupts, like it could be like clearing that value and stopping something else. Let's look into what we have actually done in this code. So firstly, we have this asset given it the name as setup timer, and it says like global interrupts are currently not working. Then, in case of timer interrupt 1, we have these two registers, the DCCR1A and DCCR1B. Now, these are the one responsible for the interrupt. So, setting the value of A to 0, and in case of B, I have this the set the entire BGM12 value to 1. Now, what does this mean is like, let's look onto the table. So, BGM12 value was set 1 and BG11 wasn't mentioned and neither was D10 value. What does this say? That we have the CTC interrupt. Now, CTC means like it clears the value whenever like the actual value that we are testing arises that particular instance. So when the two value meet it clears it and it stops it and there is an interrupt. Like yes. You can take an example like something happens, okay, and then the teacher arises in the class and something did happen at this particular instance, so the student can go outside or do something when that particular instance arises. And we have this another thing called CS12 and CS10. We have this in timer one. Now, what does these values means? Like, it helps us define the prescaler value. So we saw that CS12 was one and CS10 was one. So it says that and CS11 wasn't even mentioned. So the prescaler value should be 1024. So that's what I have given it here. And then the case of this OCR1A, now it actually helps you like what kind of frequency we are trying to reach. And how that is calculated like prescaler divided by the oscillation values, and the oscillation value is of the Arduino is 16 million, or you can rather calculate it like and that particular instant would give you the timer tick. So after giving you the timer tick for this would be around 64 microseconds, and after that, in order to calculate like what type of register value you wanted to reach, like frequency you wanted to reach, so 1 second divided by the current value we are at is 64 microsecond would eventually give you this value like 15,624. So if your circuit reaches that value, there needs to be an interrupt, and that interrupt is defined here like CTC interrupt. So it clears that value. Firstly, it stops whatever it is doing. It tells you like there is an interrupt, and interrupt is enabled at that particular instant. And moving on to like what does that so it is being called inside this. Now it takes like the temperature value, it's read every value, and if the light value is greater than 300, then there is a change detected. So pin change is being talked about here, and it displays like green light is high, and there isn't a change detected, then the green light is low. So this pin change interrupt is being called, and here, so the PIR, in case of PIR sensor, so here it detects like if there is a motion detected. It's just a normal interrupt. So if a motion is detected, turn it to high only at that particular instant. So the green light and as well as this red light is dealing with the actually the pin change interrupt here. And it just brings us like the temperature and everything and the setup pin. And as you can see, we have an empty loop. So I'm not talking about that. So in order to define like where the interrupt is, uh, you can see like pin change interrupt is at the PIR sensor. If there is a change, then only interrupted. Then we have a timer interrupt which deals with this. So let's just run the code once, and as you can see, like it keeps on changing. So as you can see, these two things, the red and green LED doesn't seem to be changing. It just changes when there seems to be an interrupt. So there you go. If it detects a particular change, then only it will change. And in case of PIR sensor, same happens. If it detects the change, then only something changes. It isn't like it keeps on taking like, whether there is a change or not. So thanks for watching the video.